Welcome to New Mexico Black Rifle Operators Union. I'm your host, Sean. Tonight, from again, The Truth About Guns, the CDC data shows constitutional carry states have fewer total gun-related homicides. Now, what they're saying with this is that you have fewer incidents of murder with guns, fewer assaults with firearms, fewer of them perpetrated on anyone, fewer suicides. So, it's interesting because that means that in freer states, you actually end up with less of what they're worried about. When I say what the left, the guys, the gun grabbers, the guys that are anti-2A, everything that I oppose, they are not paying attention to their own statistics. We're supposed to listen to the CDC. That's what they told us for, almost 3 years now. But their own data tells you that if you are carrying a gun, if you're allowed to carry a gun, it lowers homicides. For most of us in the 2A, that's a duh. For the other guys, I would hope that this story would hit some sort of mainstream outlet, but I don't think it will. It's sad because it could be beneficial for everyone, especially in those really, really bad crime-ridden areas in every state. This isn't a left or right thing, like I've said multiple times. You look at this stuff and you see that people that are in rural areas that have more freedom when it comes to gun rights, there's less crime there. There's also less population there. But that's also because they have some self-ownership in themselves and know that they have to be their first line of defense. I know places in Colorado that it would take an hour for someone to get to you. I know places in New Mexico it would take 2 hours for someone to get to you. And that depends on if one of those officers wasn't on another call already and was available. So it makes perfect sense to me that I just say free states, but anyone that has open carry or constitutional carry. So New Mexico laws, if you didn't know them, are kind of different, but it kind of makes sense for the Southwest. For concealed carry, you can have you have to pass a class once every 2 years to research, once every 4 years to research, do the whole certification process, once every 2 years to refresh the process. Other than that, New Mexico is an open carry state. Up until very recently, you could even carry in the Capitol building at the Roundhouse in Santa Fe. I still believe that's state law, but they've made some sort of concession or something. At least that's the rumblings I heard. I haven't been there in about a year or two. But New Mexico is very kind of liberal with it. For now, we have to fight our governor every year, every time, because they go after the same things that California does in New Mexico. So we have to watch out for them trying to ban guns or ban magazines or have some sort of stupid laws. New Mexico does have a red flag law, unfortunately. I don't think it's used very much because we're still seeing a lot of bad people doing bad stuff, but even the law enforcement guys had to admit that it really wasn't going to stop anything. It was just another tool for them to put on someone, and yeah, you get it. Another way to have the state inflict their laws on you. And when I say that, I'm not anti-law. I understand that. I mean, we live in a society of laws, but I'm getting more and more to the point that the laws aren't applied equally. If you look at the federal level, If you look at the state level, I mean, our governor here was allowed to go out and go to the lake when she locked us all down. You know? So I'm not a very big fan of the government after COVID stuff, after 20 years of long war. So I wish the government agencies would listen to themselves, because this corresponds with what the FBI says, that there are more and more incidences where guns are used in self-defense. And the FBI was caught at hiding those numbers too. So it doesn't surprise me, but more and more people need to talk about this, especially in the 2A community. We try, but we need to be more advocates for it. And again, it goes back to that one conversation we need to have that in the 2A, and I had it this weekend. We all know one idiot in our life that shouldn't be around guns. How can we in the 2A help stop that idiot? And I mean that not by infringing his rights or her rights or anybody's rights. It's that, how do we either train them up to where they're not an idiot? How do we cool their temper down? How do we do something? Because we all know there is one person that shouldn't. And we also know that there's a lot of tragedy. I mean, I've had a lot of tragedies go on in my own life. So, you know, I have 3 kids that keep pulling me. I have my, as I tell everybody all the time, the mission to keep working to do what I do. Trying to start this as, I guess, a business, as a way to, you know, as a hobby, as something that I like and enjoy, getting out and talking about stuff like this, because in a lot of places you're not allowed to be totally open and honest and political if you want to be. And the gun issue, whether we like it or not, it's become a political issue. And what really sucks is it's the one right. You know, I've heard so many arguments for people to have licenses for owning a firearm, because then we know you went through all the steps and did all this. You do know that the background check system has already been in effect for a long time. That gun show loophole doesn't exist. Anyone who has a gun show nowadays finds the FFLs and flags everyone and pushes them to that. That doesn't mean some bad actors aren't going out in the yard somewhere and exchanging money in a piece of property. However, you know, that's a very small, minute amount of firearms. Statistics have shown, again, most firearms that are used in crimes are stolen. So lock your shit up the best you can. You know, I'm fortunate where I live. I know that the sheriff is very pro-2A, as much as he can be politically. And I understand that he has to be a politician at times, especially in our state, because our state is pretty blue, but it's based on population center. Everywhere else out from the spoke of the Rio Grande Valley type stuff in Albuquerque and Santa Fe and Las Cruces, that's where the population centers are in New Mexico, and they usually get to swing their weight around and get their way. If these guys that live in other and have other organizations that are tied to that state entity and rely on that funding, they have to do some political backstabbing and happy dances. I think politicians in my area are going to learn very quickly that they have to fix some stuff. Because the economy globally is not going in the right direction. And more people are going to be more and more desperate. And that's where this type of thing comes into play. You should be able to defend yourself, whoever you are. Like, share, subscribe, be great. Rumble.